Welcome everybody. I have got UpATreeZelda here tonight. A very special treat for you all, and I'm excited to dig in. Normally, I kind of write my thoughts and I organize them into interview format. And I looked at them for this one. I said, "Wow, I'm not going to get through all these. I'm going to have to cut some stuff." So this will be an adventure. UpATree, you appeared on Incoming Transmission back in 2018.
Yeet.
That is a fantastic interview, and I don't want to sort of rehash Joey's work there. So I want to focus on stuff that has happened since then. So we're going to be kind of, mostly skipping over like your origin story and all that. A lot has changed for you since then. You got married, you built a studio out of literally nothing, you've become a keyboard manufacturer, you've redone all your overlays again, and all of your
Yes.
streaming infrastructure. You partnered with an editor. There's way more than I can talk about in an hour and a half.
Man, when you say it like that, it sounds really fucking impressive, doesn't it?
I'm telling
Like,
you, man.
if for me, it just feels like it's like I haven't done enough. But then when you
Right.
when you fire off a list,
I'm telling
I'm
you.
like, yeah, man, fuck, I have.
Actually,
That's
I've done some
true.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
shit,
like
that's
me.
a little
I
bit.
do the same thing. You're always focused on like the next thing or the 100 item long
Yeah,
to-do list of shit that you haven't done yet, and it's like, yeah.
yeah,
But anyway, yeah, I mean, I want to keep it super, informal, like conversational. We're just chatting, but the subject is you, right? And obviously I know the answers to some of this stuff, but maybe not everybody, watching
sure.
live or on YouTube does. But just as like, let's just hit the quick intro. Like, how do you kind of describe who you are, what you do?
Dude, I don't even know what to call myself anymore. I think I think the correct way to say it now is that I am a content creator.
Mm.
Yeah, we make content.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to be a streamer, but I don't like. I mean, I'm still streamer is my. I would say a streamer is my day job, but I think content creator is becoming the better way to put it. Because yeah, I find myself focusing a lot more on YouTube and
Mm-hmm.
just like other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I make mostly StarCraft content. I dabble in tech. I'm knowledgeable about tech, but I'm trying to figure out like it's not really what I wanted. I like the relationship I have with tech. Like I like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I like to touch on it. I keep myself up to date, but I don't really. I'm. It's not something I'm doing all the time. It's like maybe I'll do one video a month, which is what I think right now what my goal is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, so you've kind of gotten into like every imaginable aspect of streaming, right? Like everything that I could think of, you've kind of done a deep dive. How did you? I guess let's start with the studio. Like, how did you get the idea to make a hole in the ground and custom build from nothing your own streaming space?
Oh, it was a fucking joke at first. Like, at least I thought it was. My dad, like, I remember I was sitting at the table with my dad, and
Yeah.
I was like, and because it started out from the most practical thing like you could ever think of for an Italian family. My dad was like, okay, like you want to stay close to us, which I do. He's like, we live in a neighborhood that was not expensive, but like because of the Toronto area, right? The Toronto area is crazy expensive
Mm.
and it's slowly pushed its way out. And so the house that my parents bought, in the 90s that was affordable, in fact, cheap, is now ludicrously expensive just because of how like the GO train has pushed out. So getting into Toronto via train has gotten easier.
Mm-hmm.
Commuting on the train isn't as bad because everyone's got a 4G phone in their pocket. It's not as horrible as it used to be.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I want to stay near them. And if I want to stay near them, I need a pretty sizable down payment. And we were wondering how we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, well, I mean, we have this addition that we built. They literally, they were like, what's the bylaw says you can extend like 1.5 times on the house.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally took up the entire thing. Like they built a room that was exactly 0.5 times the size of the
Yeah.
house. And then so they had like an 800 square foot basement that was just like unfinished. And they were like, "Yeah, like why don't you just finish this up? It'll take us a couple months." Which I should have seen the red flags when I heard couple months and finished.
Right.
And they're like, "Yeah, we'll just finish that." And I was like, "Listen, okay, I'm not doing this thing again. Like I have some money now. Okay, I'm a big boy. I'm not streaming in a box. It's 4x4 All right, in the middle of the living room. All right, I'm
Right,
done
right, right.
with that shit. I'm done with cracking the door because I'm 500 degrees and being yelled at for being too loud.
Yeah.
Finished. Okay, I'll get a 2-bedroom before I do that shit. Hell no. But
Right.
so I was like, why don't we just, very very Italian. We'll just put it in the ground. I was like, huh, really? And he was like, yeah, sure. Dig a hole, put it in the ground. It's like, all right, let's do it. And then I was like, if you're serious, I'll start as soon as it gets warm enough.
It's amazing.
And that's exactly what we did. As soon as it got warm enough, I went out with a shovel and started digging. And then it became clear that it would take me a year if I did it by hand. So we finished it with a bobcat. I got pretty far though. Like I gotta say, I shoveled pretty good.
There's a visceral appreciation too of like starting with a shovel and now you're literally sitting in that space, right? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I was like literally right here. Like I can point at it. I was right there at the bottom. There's a picture of me like looking up, and I'm like looking up with my jacket and stuff, and I'm soaked in sweat.
yeah, you posted this on Twitter. I remember this.
Yeah, and I'm sure anyone who saw that at the time was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like look at you digging a hole. Like what are you gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah, myself included. I like wasn't sure. I mean, the deeper the hole got, the less I thought it was a meme, right? But like, you know,
It's like what? Yeah, he was thinking he'd do it, but there's no way. Like,
right.
I'm gonna see in 2 weeks. He's gonna be like, nah, too tired.
Yeah.
Forget it.
But this is the
Yeah,
thing
no.
that I've come to appreciate about you is like you say this wacky shit and then you follow through on it, right? Like you've said this yourself. Like the difference between you and other people is you have these big outlandish ideas and then you actually do them, right? As opposed to like the rest of us mere mortals have the idea and it's like, maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
You know.
I have to agree with that, but there is I know what the I know. Sometimes I say outlandish shit. If I start, I don't stop till it's done.
Mm.
But sometimes, like I'll say, like I want to do X number of things, but it's like I have this habit of doing that, and on stream it's because I'm working it out in my head. Like I
Mm-hmm.
want to work on these things. I want to do these things. Like maybe I'll do X number of things this week, but then it's just not practical. Like
Right.
you don't have enough time.
Yep.
But once I start a project, like unless I realize within the first couple of hours it's a terrible idea and it is a complete dud,
Mm-hmm.
and not because it's like too hard. It's never because of how hard a project is, ever. Like I will work on something no matter how hard it is until it's finished.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a whether or not I think that the idea is worth it. Like
Right. Yep.
in
Yeah. I mean,
general.
you've got
yeah.
limited time, right? So doing that thing, like it has to at least be worth the time it's going to take you versus whatever else you do.
It's just got to be a good idea.
Yeah.
Like I've done so many things. I was actually just talking to because Rob's building an overlay right now for Hearthstone.
Mm.
And I was just talking to him and I showed him this older overlay and I was like, man, this was such a fucking clean overlay. I loved it. But you know what its downfall was? You couldn't see it. It was too clean. It was too small. Like it was too like it was too minimal. So minimal that no one noticed it.
Right.
And like these are some of the things that you just like I've come to understand. So like a thing is only as good as how well it serves its purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can put in infinite hours, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't actually do its job.
Yep.
And so that's why now I've learned to be like, okay, like if I'm a user, if I'm a viewer looking at this thing, like is it gonna do what I'm expecting? If it's not, then I just stop.
Yeah,
Move
totally.
on.
So
But sometimes you can't know until you start.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes the thing that you got by doing the work was not the work product at the end, but like the stuff you learned about why that idea wasn't quite right. That's the thing that I see a lot in kind of like doing software startups, right? Like a lot of times people confuse the work product with the work, and sometimes the work is just learning.
Right.
Along those, go ahead. Sorry.
I said no, right. That's true. I agree with that.
Yeah. So along those lines, I'm kind of curious about, you've done live coding of at least your most recent overlay. I don't know if you did that prior.
I've done them for most of them, yeah.
So how did you kind of arrive at that idea, or like, decide that it was, the right balance of like content creation versus getting the thing done quickly?
Oh,
Like
people
I feel like
bullied me into doing it.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I'm like 50 times slower when people are watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
'cause
always my concern
Yeah.
with ever doing that. I'm like, oh man, like if I just want to get the thing done, like I should just do it, not have,
Yeah.
I feel like
For
guy in
me-
the chat's bad enough with StarCraft, let alone freaking writing code.
Well, to be honest, for me, it's useful because I came out of undergrad and grad school like with a pretty good understanding of fundamentals.
Mm,
Like I have a strong understanding of how most code fundamentals work, but not the actual implementation,
I see.
right? Like
Hmm.
I have a good understanding of data structures,
Yep.
like of all of the different parts of like how like what you can use to code with. But like as far as implementation in language and APIs go,
Uh-huh. Sure.
I'm useless. So the whole point, part of what the overlay was a contingency.
Mm.
Like if streaming doesn't pan out, I need a job. So it's like, all right, like this will be my resume. I
Hmm.
realize now that it's a pretty good resume.
Right.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a very functional piece of code. It never crashes.
Hmm.
Like it works day in and day out. It's robust. I've added onto it like who knows how many times. Like if you see
Right.
my GitHub repo's got tons of pushes. Like I've learned a lot of stuff from it. Um, and I will admit that as a pleb, that having Twitch chat actually saved me a lot of hours at some points. Like you get a coder in there who's like, listen, man, like you should really use some promises. This is a terrible implementation. And I'm like, what the fuck are promises? Then I start Googling. I was like, holy shit, this is way better than what I
Mm.
was doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I should
Yeah.
absolutely do this. So I'll give Twitch chat its credit, man. Like I'm definitely like I would give myself like a B minus coder. Like
Mm.
I knows what he's doing, can script something if he needs to, but like I know one language well, and it's not the language anyone likes. So
Sure. Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
mean, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen in the chat. Don't get your computer science education. Just build things, and
but that is what I mean. That's not necessarily. I wouldn't. I'm always on the fence. That
mm,
comes up in Twitch chat,
yeah, yeah.
and I sit there and I think about it, and I'm like, man, I learned a lot from undergrad, right? Like I
Right.
learned a shit ton. I learned a lot of life skills, like what independence was, like time management, like
Mm-hmm.
skills that you can only have by like because time management isn't just how to work more. Like
Right.
there's also how to not work till you want to die. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a there's a relationship there, and there's a lot, man. Like I learned so much from school, and my fundamentals are solid because of that. I always know how to come back to my fundamental data structures, like how to just build things in a way that makes sense. Not just using whatever like a language gives me, like
Mm-hmm.
if that's the best way. Like it's to always
Right.
look for the best way to do something, and it's worth it for that. But at the same time, I think that if you if you want to build something, even with an education, unless you start just working on it, like it's
Yeah.
not like you don't know anything. Like
Yep.
most coding is learned by just building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%. So, jumping topics a little bit, you've kind of gone to, actually, I would say very great lengths to streamline your workflow around YouTube, right? So you've spun up infrastructure, you have a server now in a different room, you've
Oh
got,
yeah.
Cobra on staff. Like, how did you sort of arrive at all of that? Like, one, how did you decide, that you wanted to do something like that at all? And then two, like, how did you break down all of those pieces?
Um. Well, the editor thing was because Cobra wanted to do that kind of shit for free, and I was like, well, that's stupid. Like you can't work for nothing.
Right.
And yeah, so I mean I pay him a little bit, and I'm because the deal was like, okay, I'll pay you like $50 a month. And what he does is right now he manages. So it's not like he's not like killing himself.
Hmm.
I'm not paying him a crap ton, but I was like, if it gets off the ground, then I'll pay you like a percentage of
Sure. Yeah.
whatever we make.
Totally. Yeah.
But really, the YouTube thing started because Twitch just started making some of the most brain dead decisions
Yep.
I had literally ever seen. I was like, how I can't listen. Like, what the hell is this? Like, I can't.
Yeah.
It's like problems so big that I legitimately like looked. I looked at my career and I was like, holy shit! Like,
Yeah.
it might actually die, and not because I fucked up.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
like, one of the nice things about this job is that like it really is all about you. Like if
Hmm.
you fail, then you fail. Like
Right.
but I might actually fail because the company that I'm like apparently that I'm contracted with, because you can't say employed,
Yeah.
has tanked because they make terrible decisions sometimes. And so I was like, yeah, well, we have to branch out. Like that's gonna be something I gotta do.
Hmm.
The server thing is probably because I watch a little bit too much Linus Tech Tips. And And I realized like I had to come up with a solution. I was running out of space. Like I had 12 terabytes, and I was like, I'm chewing through about 4 terabytes, 4 to 6 terabytes a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have to choose. Do I back this up permanently in a way that I have either to pay a crap ton a month, or I pay a
Mm-hmm.
little bit and then I can't touch it again?
Yeah.
You know, like my original idea was that, oh, I'll just run out of drive like disk space and I'll just take the drive out and I'll
Mm-hmm.
just store it. And then someone in chat was like, oh, you know that eventually the ball bearings, like the oil in them solidifies and then the drive won't start. I was like, oh, well, thanks for ruining that. Like, so I was like, okay, so I need to come up with a real solution. So then I started Googling around, and then Unraid seemed easy and extensible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, all right, well, screw this. I'm just gonna, because you have to strike a balance, right? Like
Yeah.
I had a server already for managing the overlay,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to to manage that, and then to have the bot, like my bot for chat and my bot for Discord, which of course I wrote both, and you had
Mm-hmm.
a part in writing the Discord bot.
Oh, do you use
Um,
that?
I for the same reason that Jason
Okay.
uses it.
Got it. Got it.
Right.
Understood.
Yeah. Like, of course.
Sure.
But like, I mean, it's very straightforward. It's very simple, very
Yeah.
elegant. I improved on it a bit with what we did,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like, I mean, it's the best solutions are elegant. You know,
Right.
they're not
Yeah.
like they're not complicated or convoluted. So I had that, and then I had an old CPU kicking around as well that I tossed in there, and yeah, and I was like, I need to be able to get this footage. Like, I need to be able to retrieve it.
Mm-hmm.
So workable, it has to be workable, and I need to be able to expand as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't need an ungodly amount. Like I'm not like
Right.
filming a crap ton of stuff all the time, and yeah. So it was just like the sweet spot there was building your own server, because I'm not gonna have enough storage. Right, I'm not a multi-man team
Mm-hmm.
really as far as like more people shooting footage, because
Right.
it's all about the raw storage comes from how many people are shooting footage. So like Linus Tech Tip needs petabytes because he's got like 10 YouTube channels, all of which with a million subscribers,
Mm-hmm.
releasing one piece of content a day, right? And like a ridiculous amount of footage. They're all on their entire building is now run with like fiber optic.
Jeez. Wow.
Every one of them has 25 gigabit to the editing station.
Wow.
They're all editing off the server. Like
That's wild.
they're not even their desktops like have like 1 terabyte. Like
Yeah.
they're literally editing. Like, it's ridiculous. It's insane. So
Jeez. Wow. Huh.
I look at stuff like that, and I have the whole plan, the whole path is there. I'm literally following what they did. I don't think I'll be a multi-man team. Like
Mm-hmm.
in an ideal world, maybe like me and Jason work together, but
Mm.
getting him to do anything sometimes feels like, he's I think he just wants to move,
Hmm.
and that's like what he's focusing on. He's like laser sight like on that. So
Yeah.
just setting off. But anyway, like that, maybe one other person, like a two-man team or something. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so it's all about understanding your criteria. Like, what do you need? And then solving for the solution that fits it best. And that's where I ended up. Like, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Very cool. So, along the lines of, just talking video, talking YouTube, you've, started in on sort of some tech vlogging and even just, general, like, here's what's going on in my life. And these are, this is kind of day in the life. Like, we start with having coffee, picking the mug, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So was that, I feel like I started seeing you really push that around this time. Stuff with Twitch started getting kind of weird and shaky. Am I
Yeah.
remembering
I
that
mean,
right?
it was purposefully timed. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, is that something that you enjoy doing? Is that something you feel like you want to continue to push? Is it kind of more of a sidecar thing? Like, how are you thinking about that?
Honestly, right now, trying to figure out, because I still want to be studying StarCraft enough to improve.
Yeah.
Which is a serious time sink.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like you should be spending at least 2 hours a day if you're at a level where you're stuck and there isn't obvious things to improve. Like you need to spend, it's like anything, like lifting,
Mm.
like martial arts, like anything. The last like 2% is the hardest
Mm.
to break through. It requires an exponential amount of time to improve upon. So like I'm trying to figure out how much more I can sort of squeeze in on top of that. But I mean, the vlog thing was sort of a commitment to that, but there was also, I mean, the apartment was being built at the time too.
Mm-hmm.
So there was stuff to talk about. There was stuff to show. right now, like, my I what am I gonna vlog? Like my stream, and
Mm.
then watching a replay, and then like watching TV, and then going to bed, and like 7 days a week. Like that's, I mean, yeah, okay. It's like the same thing. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna push it to I'm gonna start doing like one a month,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because it just makes the most sense via the given what I have to do, like what's around, like what I'm actually working on and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Um, but yeah, that's that's vlogging is one of those things that I kind of enjoyed it. It's weird carrying a camera though for like day to
Mm.
day shit.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't shake that feeling that it's just wrong.
Yeah. It's the Instagram sort of person
And
thing, right? It's like
yeah,
I'm not actually living life. I'm doing this content creation shit, and
I
it's like
I gotta say, dude, I think I might be too much of a millennial for this shit. Like,
interesting.
it's just too fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like, I want to just enjoy. Like, I feel like if you're carrying a camera to capture everything, you're not enjoying it as much.
Yeah, you know what's different about it is like so streaming doesn't feel that way for me because it's like there's a room I go into and I sit
It's
down in front of a bunch of shit.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Whereas if I'm in normal life and I'm like, wait, hold on, let me take a picture of this food. Like it's fucking weird. Like it just is it doesn't
yeah.
feel right for some reason.
It's separation of concerns,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? Like you feel like the thing is, and this is tough, I think, for a lot of people to understand, because like when you sit down to eat, like your brain like turns off or is allowed to
Mm.
like think about whatever. You're not working anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like working is a state of mind. Like you're
Yeah.
okay. So this is what I'm doing to provide for myself and my family. Like, I'm bringing my A game, or
Mm-hmm.
you're showing up. Like whatever.
Sure.
It's some days like everyone's phoned it in.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. But to carry a camera around to do everything turns everything into a job,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even if you love it, eventually, like you realize you're working 18 hours a day
Mm-hmm.
and you're sleeping 6 hours, and it's just not right.
Yeah.
Like you can't be doing that.
Right. So you
And
touch go
yeah.
ahead.
And that's the thing. Like, there's a balance, right? Because I wanted to do the vlog for StarCraft related shit,
Mm-hmm.
and at some point you've got to be able to strike that balance to be able to come up with like a 15-minute video a month. Like, you should be able to do that and still be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's about finding the balance for that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So you kind of briefly touched on a couple of things. One, lifting, and two, martial arts. And that's something you spoke about in your previous interview a little bit, and also on your stream earlier today.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious, and again, I know some of these answers, but how has particularly the martial arts side sort of influenced how you think just in your overall like worldview as a human, but also your StarCraft. Like, does it impact your StarCraft? Do you feel?
I see there's a lot of parallels for
Mm-hmm.
sure. But I think that any combative thing, like where you're like
Yeah.
putting two minds, because martial arts is a lot about the physical, but also a lot about the mental
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like, mind games are effective in martial arts. Like, if the madder someone is, the less likely they are to keep composure.
Mm.
And the more likely you are as an experienced martial artist to be able to take advantage of that, because I mean, I can't tell you how many times like I've sparred someone who's angry, and like you think that you're gonna do better when you're angry,
Mm.
but you're just dumber. Like,
Yeah.
the more like an ape you are, the easier it is for me to beat the shit out of you.
Right.
Like, you swing more wildly, you move more predictably, you load your shots. Like,
Mm.
sure, if you hit me, right, then I'm
Right.
in trouble. But like, I mean, you can only have so many people try to punch you in the head before, like, you're not people aren't going to easily do it anymore. Like, you've just seen
Mm-hmm.
it too many times. The tells are there.
Sure.
And it's like StarCraft's the same thing. It's like, oh, hey, I showed up to your base and there's no barracks here. Like,
Right.
wow. Like, I wonder what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder where the barracks is. Like, yeah, it's the same. It's the same kind of deal. As far as worldview is concerned, I think martial arts probably did shape my worldview on people a lot. Like, I've seen some of the nicest kids just become terrible people
Mm.
in like 2 seconds. As soon as you hand them like any amount of power, right? Like, I've seen people who are like pretty nerdy kids, who are bigger kids,
Mm.
who like get a little bit of skill, and all of a sudden they just they just start like abusing people because they
Mm.
can. Like you handed
Yeah.
them a set of gloves,
Right.
so now they have a right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean it, and it's a humbling experience with someone with 10 years of experience who is like you outweigh by 80 pounds, walks around you like you're a mountain and just beats the living bejesus out of you
Mm-hmm.
in a very kind way. Like there's nothing worse. Like I shit you not. There's nothing worse than having somebody chop your legs out from underneath you
Mm-hmm.
while smiling at you, and you're trying to punch them as hard as you can in the head.
Right.
Like, and I've been that guy. Like I've been outweighed by like
Mm.
80 pounds, just do 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 do, and just.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, dude can't walk after you anymore, and it's over. Like,
Mm.
can you imagine losing a fight, never getting hit in the head?
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like, people can't. A lot of people like they see UFC, but they can't fathom the embarrassment, like the humility that is brought to you
Mm-hmm.
when you're staring at the dude beating your ass, and
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't hit you in the head,
Right.
and he's winning,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and it's like that, and you realize that like just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I can kick you in the head from standing upright, like without any wind up, doesn't mean that I should. Like
Right.
it's not that's not how you teach people to do things. It's not right.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've seen what happens when you hand people who are good people any amount of power they've never had before,
Mm-hmm.
and they immediately want to test it. And
Right.
then they go too far, and then they remember, oh shit, like I'm a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Like this isn't what I meant at all. You
Yeah.
know how
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
times, dude, I've seen somebody hit somebody and then just have that face of instant regret. Like,
Mm. Like they realize
holy
what they've
shit.
done. Yeah.
Like I've just actually like I could really have injured this person, and on occasion actually has. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's
Yeah.
one of
That's
those things.
interesting.
There's a level of restraint that you learn.
Right. Yeah. That reminds me a lot, actually, of we had Neuro on the book club, and we read Hagakure, and that book talks a little bit. Ironically enough, like it's a samurai book, right? But it's talking about doing this in the form of like verbal argument, not in terms of like physical
Right.
combat, right? But basically, the gist of the thing was, like if somebody's being a dumbass and they're being stubborn in their idea, right? And you decide that it's important enough to show them that they're wrong, right? Which is kind of like the big guy who's gotten a little ounce of power.
Right.
It's like, okay, you gotta teach him. He basically says like, do it quickly and efficiently and in a kind way. And that kind of resonated for me with what you just said, where
Right.
it's like you're sort of chopping dude's legs out from under him a little bit. You're not out there to really hurt him, but he kind of needs to be shown like, hey, don't,
Right.
you know.
But I mean that's the thing is as an instructor, because I went from like I started as a student, and then I was a student for like 4 or 5 years,
Mhm.
and then the instructor like left, and I became the instructor.
Oh wow.
And the difference between being the student, like being someone who's the student and the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
is that your role is different. Like you're not just learning anymore. Like you're always a student of martial arts, or a student of StarCraft, or a student of whatever game you
Sure.
subscribe to. But you sometimes, a student will have a particular weakness, and even though you're far more skilled just because of hours sparred, you will have to demonstrate to them that they have this particular weakness because it's
Mm.
holding them back
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, right? Even if it's throwing the same roundhouse kick like 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I have been hit in the head because I've been showing somebody how to hit me in the head,
Mm.
right? Like, and there are there's a lot of instructors that they don't teach through sparring. Like I'm one of those that definitely thinks that that's the best way to learn.
Mm-hmm.
The closer to a real confrontation that your
Right.
training is, the more adaptable it is. It's got to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But all the time, man. Like I'll be teaching somebody how to gauge distance, because gauging distance is probably one of the most important things in a fight.
Mm.
And then in order to do that, like you're throwing punches you'd never throw,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you just get clocked in the face, and you have to smile about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm proud. Like
Right.
you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Like
Yeah.
I made the mistake, and
Right.
you punched me in the face. Like
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Right.
And you have to not let your ego get in there, because if your ego gets in there, then you're like, oh yeah, good job, and then you just beat the shit out of them.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
It's
You have to separate yourself as a teacher from yourself as the guy who just
of
got decked,
course,
right? Like,
because I have pride,
right.
you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just because, like, some upstart can't beat the crap out of me, this would be wrong. You can't have that.
That's
Because
funny.
I was
Wow.
like that. Like, as a student, like, I had a lot to I felt I had a lot I felt that I wanted to prove. Like, I had a very hot-headed teacher
Mhm.
who cared a lot about who was best, and I wanted to be good.
Mhm.
And so I always tried to, not like climb. There wasn't really ranks, so I always to try and climb because you knew who was the best. Like, you knew
Mm.
who could outskill other people, and
Mhm.
I always wanted that. And then one day I was supposed to give a shit about how good everyone else was. Like, and all of a sudden my pride wasn't about how good I was, but how good the worst person in the room was.
Yeah, right? You're trying to bring
Right?
them up.
Yeah,
Huh.
and you can't get frustrated because I've seen some people like who literally don't know how their hands and legs work.
Mm.
And I'm like, how do you not how do you get around in the world?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, how do you do stuff in general, not just fight?
but they're the ones that need it.
Mhm.
Like that, and that's the thing. Like, you have to have patience because those are the people you can't just drive them away. Like,
Right.
you're trying to teach them how to defend themselves, and they're the most clumsy individuals you've seen. They need the skill. Like,
Mhm.
they look like the people you take the lunch money from.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like, and not because of, and it's not because of a looks thing. And I say that, and you think to yourself, oh, like, oh man, they must be like small, weak nerds or something. No, it's the way you carry yourself.
Mhm.
Like, these are people who carry themselves like they are weak,
Mhm.
and it's a mindset thing, right? They don't walk tall, they don't walk proud, and when someone who wants to take advantage of that looks at look is looking for a victim of some kind
Yeah.
at a bar, on the street, or whatever, they're looking for that someone
Mhm.
who isn't gonna turn and fight.
Yeah.
Because people, most of the time, people don't want to fight, man. They just want an easy win,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, the people who bully are losers,
Yeah.
right? That's what they are. Because if they wanted a fight, they would find someone who equivalent to them, and
Mhm.
then they would go out and try and beat the shit out of them instead. But
Yeah,
they
it's
don't do
people
that.
are trying to smurf in real life, right? Like, it's
Exactly. That's actually true. That is fucking true. They're a
yeah.
bunch of Smurfs. You
It's
know,
funny.
they're a jack dude looking for somebody like 60 pounds less than them who's never thrown a punch in their life,
Right.
right? Because they're afraid of what happens when someone their own weight says "fuck you."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Makes sense.
and
So,
that's yeah, yeah.
to kind of round this out, right? Something that I sort of really appreciate about you is this combination of like you've got this really wide range of like abilities and interests, right? And you also have this like hardcore dedication to the stuff that you do. And in some ways, like I can see a little bit of a tension between those two things because you have like limited time, right? So how do you think about managing all of that, like all the diverse things that you want to do and not like getting ripped apart by that since you do kind of want to obsess over your projects and, really make things come out right.
That's like the hardest thing.
Yeah.
I because I've never managed to be good at, like,
Mm,
I don't know if you can be good at it really.
right.
It's always like I mean, delegation is a thing. Eventually, once you become successful enough, right? Because at the start you do things out of necessity. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I gotta build all the assets, I gotta stream, I gotta upload to YouTube, and these are necessity things. You're making enough money to pay rent
Mm-hmm.
and like enough money to eat ramen, and like that's the dream.
Yeah.
And then eventually, your community grows, and they're generous, and I love them all for that. And then instead of just like buying higher quality ramen, you know, you can buy the same quality ramen, and you can instead uh pay people to do stuff so you can continue to work on what matters and
Mm-hmm.
expand, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's sort of where I'm at now. But I mean, for me, it's important to I never want to secede creative control. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't I want to make sure that things are as good as I think that they can be,
Yeah.
right? Like, they always have to be that way. And it does sometimes get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'll just do it myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. Um but it's been that way forever, man. I've been stuck in that catch-22 since I was in grad school, where it was like, okay, so I work on my thesis or do I stream? Like,
Right.
what are
Right.
we
Right.
doing here? And I hated that time. And I thought that when I was done that I would that would be free to just stream. And then of
Mhm.
course like that was a lie.
Right.
So like it just never ends. Like,
Yeah.
the pursuit of perfecting something is daunting, and it's a lifelong task. And nothing ever is perfect. So
Mhm. Yeah, I've been more and more kind of coming to terms with that myself, and starting to realize like, okay, maybe I need to get like the good enough versions of a few of these things, and you know,
yeah,
worry
I
about the
think
V2.
I think that whatever you do as your main gig, like streaming is still my main thing,
Mhm.
right? I think streaming and StarCraft 2 are my main things, and so
Mhm.
perfection is an admirable pursuit. And I think that for everything else, that Neuro's 80-20
Yep.
rule is the way to go.
Yeah, ever
Like,
since that came out, I've been like, oh, I really got to internalize this, and like I almost make
yeah,
myself make stuff a little bit worse, you know, where it's like, ah, I could save a little bit of time here. Let's just, keep it going.
you just like don't. So like, if you film something and you want to release it, don't watch it back. Like, edit
Mm,
it as you need to, and just like let it go.
yeah.
Like, you have your main focuses, and be fine with wasting a ton of time, but spending a ton of time perfecting that. But
Mhm.
the rest of it, like, it's infinitely worse that a product never comes out that should, than for it to be, you know underdeveloped, and then just, like, for it to be a little bit underdeveloped and come out. Like, viewers will forgive that.
Sure. Yeah.
They really will, because when I'm sitting on my couch watching content, I'm not thinking about all of the shots of B-roll you didn't take.
Yeah. Right.
Right? That doesn't bother me. It's about the fact that I have something to watch.
Mhm.
Like, that's more important, I think, than anything.
Yeah, totally. It's, are you entertained? Did it show you how to do the thing, etc.?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Has doing lots of different kinds of things always come naturally to you? Is it just, have you kind of been drawn by your interests, or did you have to work on that?
I mean, they all sort of intersect. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure if that's the right way to look at it, cuz like,
Okay.
they all serve the same goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? If anything, I'm a singularly focused individual. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm on a one-track mind. Now, having to learn the necessary skills, I think a lot of people won't. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why. I don't think it's cuz I'm like better than anyone. It's just that, from a young age, like, I was, if there was like I was like building stuff all the time and whatever, and like, if I didn't know how to do something, I'd figure out how to do it. I'd either make it up myself or Google
Mm-hmm.
it when that was a thing you could do now.
Yeah.
Like, and that just continued. Like, if I don't know how something works, then I'll figure out how it works, and then I'll make it work myself,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll MacGyver a way around it. Like, but I've been doing that forever. So
Right.
it's something that, if there's an obstacle, like, it's not like, there's no obstacles unless I have to buy something I can't afford. Like,
Sure. Sure.
then that's an obstacle. But if I can work my way through it, it's not an obstacle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's almost then, I mean, the fact that you're now like, the audio video, savants of the scene. You're the, yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to list all this stuff, but like it's that's more an artifact of what streaming is and what streaming calls for, right? It's like you got to know some graphic
Yeah,
design, you got to know video stuff, you got to know production, lighting, and sound,
yeah.
and yeah.
Because, like I said, like, I was willing to perfect those things, even if there's no definition in perfection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, XQC is one of those popular streamers.
Mm-hmm.
His stream is terrible in quality.
Yeah.
Like, and that when I knock him for that, and people are like, "Well, he makes a ton of money," I'm like,
Right.
that actually is
That's the point. That's what I'm
that's the
saying. Yeah.
point, because
Right.
he's actually so funny and entertaining.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. He could be streaming in like 360p. It wouldn't matter,
Right.
because he is so much bigger than
Mm.
what he is, right? Like, he's so much bigger than the box that he's in,
Right.
and
Eh,
and that's like, it's a testament to him
mm-hmm.
that he doesn't need these tools. Like, he's not a
Right.
perfectionist, and he doesn't need the tools either, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some streamers need the tools. Like, I think there's like a ton of VTubers like rely on them,
Mm-hmm.
and they would have nothing without the tools,
Right.
right? Like, it just depends on the individual and the gimmick and how you got there, and if you can maintain it and whatever.
Yeah, totally.
I just wanted the best of whatever I thought was good.
Right. Yeah. You've kind of said before, there's sort of, a few uh sort of pillars that kind of make you a streamer, and you wanted to sort of take out the quality as like
Yeah,
a factor, right?
right.
So I guess you're kind of talking about getting to that threshold where it's like, yeah, okay, nobody like if anything, the quality's helping me, and nobody's gonna not want this for the quality, and then it's
Correct.
just the other
Yeah.
stuff, right? It's
I just
whatever's
wanted
left,
to yeah, I wanted to remove like having better quality than me couldn't be possible.
right?
Right. And as far as like yeah, all of the objective metrics that you could come up across,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to remove them
Right.
completely. And like I saw like the quality of stuff I have now,
Mm-hmm.
I saw that like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that the only people that had them were people who could afford them.
Right.
And I remember being like, this is going to be standard.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to get a head start on that, like I should start now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just prioritized like what I thought was important. I mean, obviously, I could never have predicted NVENC.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
how could anyone have predicted rocket ships in like
Right. Yeah.
1700 or something? But like, had I known, maybe I would have held off a bit on the Threadripper dream. But I mean, I don't really regret it though, because one thing that I have to point out about Threadripper, I don't think I've talked about it that much, is that it has like 64 PCIe lanes.
Mm-hmm.
So the CPU isn't the most important part anymore. It's the fact that I can hook up like 10 capture cards to it, and it's like, "What's up, son?"
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's got the PCIe lanes for it, which is
Mm-hmm.
great because there are a lot of other streamers now running into issues where they have like they have their Ryzen CPU, they got 32 PCIe lanes, and they're saturating them with their GPU and
Mm-hmm.
3 capture cards, like,
Right.
and things are just being bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm just saying I don't regret that. That meant ended up being like a blessing in disguise in a different way. But like I bought a $1,300 CPU that was out of date in 3 years by a $300 graphics card.
Yeah.
Like, could never have seen it coming.
Right. Yeah. You
Yeah.
you just got to take the lumps on that one, I guess.
I took. I mean, like I said, I took the L in that way, but it has a blessing in another way,
Right.
and I still prefer 2PC. That I still prefer 2PC. I still think it's the best way to go. I think that the redundancy is worth it, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that separation of concerns is also worth it. I mean, it
Right.
consumes more power, it's more expensive, but yeah, I think it's still worth it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Is there anything that's on your radar that you wish you could do but can't? I mean, I feel like I kind of know the answer based on what you just said.
What do you think it is? Like, I can't think of anything on top of my
I
head.
feel like the answer is that if there was something on your radar that you wish you could do, you would have found a way to do it, or it just isn't possible. I feel like that's just who
No, but
you
what do you
are.
think I would have wanted? Do you,
Um,
is there something you think I would have wanted?
no, no, I didn't have anything in mind. That was why I asked it. Actually, I was curious if there was like because it feels like you mapped it all out. I mean, you literally made the studio, you did the lighting, right? You got the camera, the mic, you built your own keyboard. You know like I
Yeah, I'm
don't know
paying for the camera now with Outlast, which I'm beginning to feel that Monty got a fucking bargain.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think $2,500 was enough. That game makes me honestly lose sleep. Like, I actually I have such a hard time with scary games, and Outlast 2 is so well done. It's so terrifying. Um, but like when he said that's a bargain, I laughed at him. But now I
Right.
think that maybe he was onto something.
That's funny.
That is funny. It's
Huh.
fucked. Let's see. Let me think about it. If
Okay.
I had, if I could do anything differently, like I would. There's still some things I want to upgrade. Um, I want a more portable setup, but there's nowhere to travel, so I always have to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, I could really use like a small ITX rig, and then I'm like, well, there's nowhere to go.
Right.
So I guess that waits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think there is right now. I think I've actually gotten to the point where I can just like work on StarCraft stuff
Mm-hmm.
and watch replays and watch VODs and follow the scene
Yeah,
and
totally.
collaborating. Right? There's
Mm-hmm.
no more like I follow the tech stuff for fun, but that's yeah, I guess like my own personal journeys are done with that for now.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm trying to collaborate with I'm collaborating with Neuro on Thursdays and
Yeah.
Hearthstone on Tuesdays and like just doing whatever I think is going to be good
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and trying to say no to people as little as possible and try and like get out there.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I mean,
I mean that's if that's not what the goal is, like if the goal isn't content creation, then I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. Like,
sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, the not saying no to people thing is appreciated. You're here. Thank you.
Oh, I mean, I didn't mean that as into specifically to you. I just mean like if a content creator, because there were definitely times, dude, when people have reached out and were like, and I was like, no, I can't. There's too much
Yeah.
to work to do, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or no, I got to stream at this time. Like, I'm still stuck. Like, I don't know if how many people remember, but streaming used to be like if you were streaming ladder games and you took like a 3 minute break, like you lost like 60% of your viewership.
Mm,
Like you would literally, I would literally stream, and then it would be like I'd have like 40 viewers at the start of a game, I'd have like 80 viewers at the end of a game, and then when I'd hit find match, like you could see the viewership drop like 20 viewers.
it's
Like
brutal, man.
these were times where like you were queuing as fast as humanly possible
Right.
for fear of losing everyone
Yeah.
that would watch the stream. And I have PTSD, I think, because like
Mm,
even though I, even though I've literally like now I'm streaming, I get up, I go to the washroom, I come back, and my viewership is higher, and
mm,
like my brain just explodes. Like
yeah.
there's like some circuit back there that's like no, like the math isn't right. Like it just
Right. That's
and just
funny.
blows up. Like it just doesn't. And so I say yes. When I say that, when I say yes to people, it's because that fear exists still. That like if I'm not streaming like the thing that I'm supposed to do,
Hmm.
then I'm not gonna succeed. Like I'm not gonna keep moving forward. And that's not, I don't know. That's not really the dream. That's not the goal. That's not what anyone really wants. I think is like the same content like over and over and over again.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I need to get out of that mindset. It's not a healthy mindset, and it's also
Sure.
not a mindset I think that creates content that lasts either.
Right. Yeah. So, kind of along these lines, right? In your previous interview on Incoming Transmission, you kind of talked about how a lot of people had sort of paved the way for you, right? You sort of mentioned what that
Mm.
looked like, and you kind of said, there's going to be people who come after me, right? And hopefully, I'm figuring out some of the shit, right? And that very much resonated with me. I just went back and re-listened to that as part of my prep, to talk to you tonight. And I was like, oh man, yeah, you did do that because you very much, I mean, that's not a secret. You've been an influence of mine. Like I saw you build a studio and went, I want to do that. I want
Yeah.
to make my own studio.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you kind of think about that? Does that feel like you've achieved something? Because I mean, I feel like you should feel like you achieved something with that.
I mean, you'd think so. I don't know. Like, you know what, man? Maybe if I had been doing it for any particular reason,
Mm,
like when it comes to like helping people out, like I
sure.
just like to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. I was like that as a kid. I'm still like that today. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll never ask for money. I think it's weird, but like it also makes sense that people do it for a living,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's just one of those things that yeah, it's tough to think about that way. Like I can see people definitely watching the stuff that I've done
Mm-hmm.
because to me it seems logical.
Right.
Like there's nothing like groundbreaking to me. It's like yeah, like you improve this and then you build a studio because no one can hear you.
Right.
Like and these are the things that you're supposed to do in sequential order.
Mm-hmm.
And then when people are like, man, like that's such a good idea. Thanks. I'm like, all right. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it wasn't meant to, but yeah, it's I mean, and I can now understand why why whenever I watch interviews of people who I like learned from, like Artosis or Nathanius or like all these guys are like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
guess like it's great that people did what we did. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were just doing what was obvious to them. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was just the natural next steps, and it's the same thing. Like you're just yeah, anyone who follows their passion, I think like when yeah, it's the same thing when people follow after you because they're trying to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to
you're
follow.
you're
And
motivated by similar goals and aims, right? So you
yeah,
arrive at a similar spot.
yeah. And
Makes sense.
I think I definitely improved on a lot of the stuff. I came at it from a very technical perspective, I think. Like
Hmm.
when it came to the streaming stuff. And maybe that's the difference. Like I know that there were people working on overlays more complicated than the stuff that I was doing. Even when in like 2015, 2016,
Hmm.
but they were coders. Like they were
Yeah.
programmers who were hobbyists who were just doing shit for fun. Like but I had the dream of being a streamer. And that maybe that was what the difference was. Is that
Right.
I saw this as like I looked at it from like a programmer's perspective. where like the code is not the code is not the objective. The
Mhm.
objective is the problem,
Right.
and the code builds the solution, right? Like streaming was the problem, and then the technical side was part of the solution. It was just
Mhm.
one of the many parts.
Totally,
And
yeah.
like I remember early on, I watched a lot of stand up too. Like
Mhm.
I watched a lot of stand up comedy
Yeah.
because I felt like the way that they delivered was something that, I mean, streamers should be adept in. Well, at
Yeah.
least I thought that anyway for myself, and it's not necessarily true of everybody. And then once I got well versed enough in delivery, like I didn't like practice or anything. I just kind of understood what timing was supposed to look like.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, it's an intuitive thing. You sort of passively
right.
absorb it, and you, without realizing it, you almost sort of become funny by exposure to it. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I like to believe I was like funny before that,
Uh-huh.
but like you understand, like you just understand delivery. Like it
Mhm.
reinforces the things about delivery that you already understood, or like you thought about like, oh man, how could I have made that funnier? Like
Yeah.
I'll see like a particular joke that I made, and I was like, man, I could have made that funnier.
Mhm.
Like I'll think about how to use that again. Like it's just something that you like let it go through your brain. But I guess all I'm getting at is that I really came at it from a different way. I think that if anybody learns anything from anything I've done, it's that you know every when it comes to achieving an ultimate goal, like all the tools are at your disposal to
Mhm.
come at it with. Like you shouldn't just lock yourself into whatever it is that person X did.
Right.
Like person X is trying to achieve said goal, and you can do X plus whatever to get that done too if you need to.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
yeah.
That totally makes sense. So, do you feel like you are on track with your goals overall? I mean, it feels to me like you've accomplished so much, but I'm curious what your perspective on it is. Do you feel like you're behind, even ahead? Like, what does that look like for you?
Um, bro, I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, I don't know. There are multiple ways to approach this. So like if we look at from like a viewership wise thing, like I think so because I think that my viewership has always been a little bit less than it actually shows up just because of like if your partner sometimes you get the front page feature thing,
Mhm. Yeah.
like you get in the rotation on that, or you get raids or whatever, and I think that passively my viewership has always been like a little bit lower than it showed up on like on screen or whatever, and then I
Mhm.
think finally I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. Like we're starting to hit 150s, like no
Mhm.
matter what the fuck happens, and like that feels very comfortable to me. I'm not really a metrics guy. Like these are
Mhm.
things when I should preface this like these are the paperwork of my job. Like if I could just show up to my job and like not give a shit about all of the metrics and viewership and money and stuff like that'd be great. But like
Sure.
to me, you have to see these things to have an idea of where you stand.
Mhm.
And so as far as that goes, yeah, like I in that way I'm more comfortable, and the YouTube stuff is taking off ever since the co-op stuff with Hearthstone, which was like I actually really almost said no. Like I thought it was gonna be I was like co-op, but
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like it's Hearthstone. So like in the
Sure.
same moment that I was like this is gonna be stupid, I was like this is gonna be great.
Mm.
I mean like we're just gonna shoot the shit and make fun of each other
Right.
for like for an hour and a half on Tuesdays. Like, it's gonna be great. So I was like,
Mhm.
it can't hurt. It's been one of the best things I've done. Like I
That's
can't.
funny.
Holy shit! Like I can't think of enough for asking me. And I mean, it does. It's a good piece of content for him.
Mhm.
Like he's getting like 13K views a co-op
Wow.
episode.
Killing
Yeah,
it,
it's
man.
doing surprisingly well.
Fantastic.
Um, yeah, for sure. I like and his editor, like he's the reason that I got that. Like I realized, like holy shit, like the editor is important. Like
Ah, yeah, yeah.
because his editor is like fucking amazing. Like if that guy, I can't give that guy enough praise because like the way that they work is the editor comes up with a lot of ideas and then Harston executes and then the editor edits. So
Interesting, huh?
Harston, yeah, they have this really good symbiotic relationship going on there. That's like really hard to hard to find because they have to understand each other very well in order to see
Yeah.
like what you can pull off and what you can't.
Right. You have to know not just the game and the subject matter, but also the person, right? Their
Yeah,
skill sets and
what's
what.
funny too, like
Yeah, yeah,
what's
yeah.
going to be good content, what's educational.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many things that you have to have a good mind for there, and Hamster really nails it. Like they really do an excellent job. And so
Yeah.
I modeled part of the working relationship that I have with Cobra off of that, and then I want to work with Joey, like nice username as well,
Mm-hmm.
for more like individualized pieces of content as well. Because I mean, I love Cobra, but I mean, he has a job, you know,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
right? Like he can't. I would pay him a lot of my money that I make to
Mm-hmm.
make videos if he had the time, which he doesn't.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? So like there's just a limit to a relationship because and I learned that from the Alpha Gaming guy. Fuck, what's his name? Uh Damn, I cannot remember his name.
Wish I knew who you meant, but I'm not
The
sure.
YouTuber. He does a lot of like product review stuff. Crap, I can't remember his name.
We'll get this answer for you, everybody. It's okay. Hold tight.
Yeah, I will get that. Harris Heller,
Oh
the
yeah,
guy
yeah.
who did Stream Beats.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I learned from him. He was paying his editor $2,000 a month
Wow.
before he was making anything on YouTube.
Wow.
Like
That's heavy
when
investment.
I
Yeah.
heard that, like, dude, it clicked in my head that like, cause like I understood how the YouTube algorithm worked, that every video has its own potential to become like viral,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that the channel doesn't weigh on the videos.
Mm.
So if I upload my regular ladder VODs like every day
Mm-hmm.
or every other day, and then I create one video that's like really funny,
Mm-hmm.
the other videos will not weigh that video down. And I
Interesting.
realized that the editor had so like him putting that money in was an investment that I guess he believed in himself enough to
Mm-hmm.
think like, okay, so if I make good content, it will take off.
Right.
But I need the quality, and I can't. I'm too busy filming. I'm too busy streaming. I'm too busy
Totally.
whatever to. So yeah, and I understood then the value because it worked out for him.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's making a shit ton now, but when he said that, he was making 8K a month off of YouTube.
Wow. Yeah. So he's just devoting this
Right.
massive chunk. Huh.
Yeah. So what started off as a deficit at first ended up becoming like a pretty massive surplus, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Very
I
cool.
just learned a lot from him.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So the thing with Hearthstone that just came up out of him kind of having the idea and just asking if you wanted to do it. Was that sort of how that all came
Yeah.
about? Nice.
Yeah. And I had just like come around to the like I won't say like I not say no thing, so it just sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
panned out.
That's funny.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
and the
So
pylon show. I'll never say no.
right.
Whenever they're
Yeah.
like, "You want to come on?" I'm like, "Yes."
I'm
You want to
still
come on and
shocked they
talk
had me
about
back a second time.
like fluffy bunnies? Yes, I'm down.
Yeah, yeah. It's Pylon Show's a ton of fun, man. I love it too. The content that you do with Neuro is like legit, and I'm not, blowing smoke here. Like one of my absolute favorite things on Twitch to watch right now. That is just such a
Really?
good time. Those Yes. Yeah, that's a nice
Really?
time, man. The two of you just like, cause I can have each of you, like one of you on one monitor, one of you on the other, and then I'm like doing whatever on the middle one. It's nice.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a good little evening,
Oh, I mean, yeah. Like I don't know. I like hanging out with him, and that's
Hmm.
why like we're gonna do that. What's ironic to me so far is that the person I like to hang out with the most is Jason, and we can't figure out what the fuck to do. Like, let that be a goddamn lesson that like
Yeah.
it's sometimes like you've been friends with someone long enough that like you've played out like it
Mm.
should be better than like the content should be better than what you guys can come up with to do.
You're like trying to leverage it, but you can't figure out how.
Yeah, we're like trying to figure it out, and we're like, it'd be boring because we're both
Mm.
the same, right?
Yeah.
Like we both want to watch like tryhards play StarCraft, and like
Mm.
we're like, who wants to watch us play? Like, I was like, let's play co-op, and he's like, no, that'd be terrible. And I was like, it's fun. He's like, nah, it's terrible.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't. We'll figure it out, but it's funny to me
Yeah.
that like I'm friends with Neuro, but
Hmm.
like Jason was at my wedding, you know.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
he's one of my closest friends. Like
Hmm.
we should be able to figure something out. But it's yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you get a little bit of contrast between you and Neuro when you're laddering, right? Just various different
Yeah.
ways, but like that, I guess, kind of almost lends itself to the content in that way. How did you guys come up with that idea? Was that just something you were chatting about one day and decided to do, or?
I think we we unironically ran into each other on ladder,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Want to get in a Discord call?" Either that or I said it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Did you pause
yeah."
the
One of
game?
us said, "Yeah," and then we just got in and just started talking shit. And
Like,
then I think at the end of the night, he was like, "Man, that was pretty good." I was like, yeah, "Let's do it again."
wait. So did you pause the game and get in Discord then and there, or like you got in Discord right after?
No, right then and there.
Oh, that's
I'm pretty
funny. I
sure.
need to go back and watch the first one. Can I
I
find
don't. I
that?
think I don't even know when that was. Like, I have
Oh,
the
we
VOD
lost it.
somewhere,
Yeah.
but like I don't because I saved them all. Haha.
Right, yeah. Oh, that's
I have
classic
every one
Twitch
of them.
lore. I love it. Oh man.
Yeah.
So okay, speaking of like classic Twitch lore, where did this meme of like animosity between you and your subs come from? This is like before my time. I don't where does Sal hates his subs come from?
Bro, I can't remember which one of those fucks. It might have been somebody I then banned for being really, really crass.
Oh no.
Like so crass. Like I think yeah, I think it might have been. I'm not sure, but it
Okay.
comes from some like a long time ago, long enough ago that like I just gotten partnered, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they like clipped me out of context,
Uh-huh.
making a joke about it. And then that was it. I
Okay.
can't remember anymore, man.
Got it.
That
That's
might have
funny.
been Jim Tony too.
Oh
Like
man.
he was a
Yeah.
huge proponent of that one.
Yeah.
Like, but I can't fucking remember. One of the mods might remember,
Mm-hmm.
but
Well,
I can't remember, man.
somebody DM me. I need to know. We need to put it in the description of the video or something if somebody has this answer, because I'm curious.
God, dude, like, and it was just like it was solidified when Nate said it in the middle of a WCS.
Yeah,
And
that's
I was like, dude, no, like, what have you done? Like, this can't be my legacy, man.
right,
Like,
right,
this
right.
can't be my legacy. Like, this just can't be it. Like, this can't be it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, this
Oh
can't.
man.
I was in straight up denial. Like, this can't be it.
Okay. I've got one final meme question for you. Can I get a title change in your Discord to book enthusiast? Can
Of
we make that
course,
happen?
I'll do that right now.
Fantastic. Okay, that was really my agenda this whole time. Everybody, we could just, I'll turn the lights off and
Pack it up. All right, on.
oh man.
Okay.
But
Book.
yeah, no, in all seriousness, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on and letting me grill you with all this stuff. It was just a really good time, and again, you very much have inspired a lot of the stuff that I want to do. I don't think that I would have gone as hard as I have if I hadn't. Like, I used to have these ideas, right, for streaming, and I'd be like, nah, it's too much, right? And then I saw you start just, and I realized no matter how extreme the idea is anymore, if you had thought of it first, you'd just do it. So I should just
Of
do it.
course. Yeah.
So that's my new sort of path in life.
That's a very good way to go about it. Because that's exactly that's exactly how it works.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I've tried a lot of stuff that's crapped out. Like the
Mm.
IRL stream thing. That didn't work out because my phone kept overheating.
Mm.
And honestly, like, I don't know how. Actually, I do know how. It comes back to what you can afford, because I know how the IRL streamers do it.
Yeah.
They have these encoders on them that have like 4 sims
Mm-hmm. Yep.
with like an unlimited data thing that costs like $3,100 a month.
It's wild. Yeah.
Dude, it's actually insane. So what happens is they have you can buy them for your own network. Like if you have more than one LAN,
Mm.
you hook them up to this router that combines the data streams and will
Yeah.
revert to whichever one is the most stable connection.
Mm-hmm.
And they essentially do that with 4 SIM cards.
Right.
So
Yeah.
at all times, it's connected to 4 carriers and will immediately switch you
Yeah.
depending on which one is like the most stable connection.
Unreal, man.
Because that is like, I was like, dude, I can't. I'm way too paranoid about whether or not my stream is up right now.
Yep.
Like, this is not content. This is a heart attack waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a way to live.
Right.
So I just there's a lot of stuff like that. I can't remember. I feel like there was another one too. I don't want the vlog to become that. Like I am gonna
Mm,
continue that. It's really just about figuring out what other stuff I can get away with in a
totally.
month.
Yep.
But and then coming back to that, I've saved the footage from before, so like the old stuff that I've done is going in there 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure like what is sustainable. There's
Right.
just so much shit to do. Like it's not something that you can just you can't really improve at StarCraft if you're dicking around doing too many other things,
Sure. Yeah, that makes
right?
sense.
It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Um,
You actually made me think of one other question. If you don't want to answer
I,
this, it's
I
totally
have
fine.
some time. You want to? You said you had a lot. I don't know if you're cutting it or
I cut a couple just because we talked about things that were close enough. But
okay, sure.
this one, maybe you don't want to answer, maybe you do. I don't know, but I'll just throw it out there. I'm
Go ahead.
curious, like with we've talked already at ad nauseum about like having tons of stuff to do and wanting to do it at a high level of quality and not having enough time. Like, how have you made that work and had a successful relationship and like you clearly value family time, right? How like if you don't want to answer that, totally understand, but I just that seems like just so hard.
Well, hmm. First of all, I think my wife is like low key one of the most understanding people like I've ever come across. Cause like I'll tell you some like some numbers. So this year I made about 45K Canadian.
Hmm.
You might think like that's pretty decent, right? I spent $30,000 on my stream this year.
Wow. Damn.
If you do the taxes, and that's like if they go to check on to see if I was legit on what I wrote off, I'm gonna
Yeah.
laugh at them.
Right.
Like I'm gonna be
Let me
like,
tell
dude, you
you,
can
buddy.
find every one of those items on camera for my job tomorrow. Like, feel free to check, buddy.
Right.
Like, so like if you do the math, I think I might have to pay like $780 in taxes.
Hmm.
What that means is that I spent so much money on my
Yeah.
on my setup, like that, like I didn't like you just have nothing left. Like I
Right.
spend the vast majority of everything I've ever made on my stream. In fact,
Hmm.
I had it planned so that this coming year would be the first year I started to save for a down payment on a house.
Hmm.
I knew that. I was like, I want to set everything up so that now it's just content and like
Hmm.
that's it.
Yep.
And then I just start saving because I eventually like I think I talked about this on incoming transmission, but a house is the dream because you can't do what I did here to an apartment.
Sure. Yep.
If you don't own it, you can't knock it down. Like
Yeah. Hmm.
right, like you
Can't be
can't break
tearing
shit
walls
that you
out
don't.
and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean I'm coming from an Italian family, man. Like I will take all the walls out. Like and I will put up beams. I'll do whatever I gotta do.
Right.
That's fine. But yeah, you can't do that if you don't own the place. So
Hmm.
that that is like everything is sort of added up to that. That's definitely the next step. For me.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, but that being said, like I guess like yeah, I mean we eat out like sometimes, but not I think like less than the average person probably does. And
Hmm.
there's a lot I've given up a lot of shit. Like I don't think I've bought like much for
Hmm.
myself. Personally like outside of stream
Sure. Yeah.
related
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. The
Um
expenditures are work equipment, and yes, you do get hyped about them, but it's not like you're not just buying
yeah.
toys to buy toys kind of thing. It's like this is for work. This is to do a certain thing.
Dude, I started playing Pokemon because I was like I haven't played a video game
Yeah.
that isn't for stream
Hmm.
in like 3 years.
Yeah.
I was like I gotta play something or like how like I'm not a gamer anymore.
Right.
Like I'm a fucking workaholic. Like that's it. Like
Right.
that's it.
Right.
Like
Right.
everything else feels so shit. And Pokemon Sword and Shield is terrible, by the way. Like, don't fucking waste your time with that
I already
garbage.
did.
It's terrible. Oh my god. What uninspired trash.
It feels to me like a tech demo for an open world thing. It felt to me like it was a Trojan horse for the little like where you can like run around live and there's other people. Like they wanted to just see would the hardware support it and it doesn't.
Yeah, the DLC was better.
No, I haven't done that yet. Interesting.
The DLC was like the open world style stuff was like a little bit tighter, a little
Mm.
bit more, felt a little bit more full, a little bit more alive.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel like, yeah. Oh God. Like, yeah, and the open world part was the best part because like the routes and stuff were like literally 2 seconds. It was
Mm.
actually the least inspired I've ever seen that that series. I couldn't believe myself. But
Man.
yeah, I mean that's, I don't know, man. Me and Cassie have spent like we've spent so much time together in the last 10 years because we went to like through undergrad together. That
Oh,
like
wow. Interesting.
yeah, yeah. We
Very
met
cool.
we met in the first like 2 months of undergrad.
Oh, that's way cool, man. That's like that's a cute story. I like that.
Yeah, we've been together a long ass time. Like she, oh dude, she was around when I like played my first ladder games and stuff. She bought me my very first like Death Adder.
Oh,
Like I
man.
my very first mouse. Like she bought me my first mouse pad. Oh dude, like I can't believe she didn't nope the fuck out. You know?
On what particular part?
Like I used to carry my keyboard to school, man. Like I was a fucking nerd. A goddamn degenerate. Like I don't understand. Like I'm carrying not like a TKL. Like I carry my full on like
The
Black
numpad and
Widow
all. Damn.
like to school, and like so it would be like I remember I was in like third or fourth year, and we had these rooms where like you would they were only available to upper year students who were working on like their capstone projects.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like work on my shit, dude. I would work on the project till like midnight, and then I'd squeeze in like 2 hours of ladder because I was like trying to be decent, and like I'd come home like super fucking late,
Yeah.
and it's just, oh god, like I don't understand. She's just very patient in that way. You know, in hindsight, maybe I'm not the patient one in our relationship.
Oh, man.
'Cause,
Well, I mean, it sounds like at the very least she knew what she was getting into with you, right? Having witnessed all of this.
I I don't know if she knew in the beginning, man. Like
Hmm.
when she met me like in first year, I was an Eng student who went to the gym and like lifted and like was taking martial arts.
And then
And
it all
like
took a
within like
turn.
5 years, I was like a super nerd going to WCSs.
Oh, man.
That's still lifting and it's still the martial arts. So it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just not. Yeah, I was different. It was different, man. But
Hmm.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
But
It
it sounds
worked
like
out.
the timepiece though, like that at least in those days, even doing school and trying to ladder 2 hours, like it sounds like the two of you must have gotten very used to just like you know I'm sure you're probably both very driven and you're both working hard, and it's like you gotta probably, I'm sure, take a chunk of your day, but I guess it's back to what you said, she's very understanding and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember too that like when I started playing StarCraft, like esports wasn't a thing.
Yep.
Like none of that existed. Like when I say like I can't believe she didn't know about, I'm kind of not kidding. Like
Yeah.
there was no future there, and I was spending a serious amount of time on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was putting it before, like before schoolwork too.
Mm.
Like I can't fucking believe. Like to this day, I cannot believe that like my averages went up. Like I don't understand that. Like I don't really. Looking back on the amount of ladder hours I played during
Mm-hmm.
those years, like I can't understand that somehow my grades did not drop off of the face of planet Earth. Like I was like I couldn't. It's so strange looking back. Like I don't think I've ever been one of those people who could just like chill.
Mm.
I don't have a chill.
Yeah,
And it's
I
so
get
weird
that.
that my stream is like a chill stream.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like I don't have a fucking chill button. Like I just don't. I
Right.
remember we went on vacation once for a week and I was bored after 2 days. I was like, I
Yeah.
need to go home and work. Like this
I
is insane.
I can only do that if it's like the vacation has to be like a bullet point list of like missions I want to go on, where it's like I'm gonna
Right.
check out that cave, I'm gonna scuba dive, I'm gonna
Yeah,
climb
yeah.
that mountain, like yeah. Then I could do it, right? Because it's like doing that stuff's fun for me. But yeah, I totally feel you on that.
I absolutely had no fucking chill, dude. Like and I've always been like that. How like the Zelda marathon literally started because we were listening to the soundtrack, and I was like, we should stream all of the games at once. That sounds like something two people can do.
Right.
Bruh,
Fantastic.
I stayed up for 50 hours on that first one. 50.
Yeah,
50
that can't
fucking
be
hours.
good.
I fell asleep during a game to wake up not dead to Ganondorf and then killed him. Like, I remember that shit. Like, oh my god. We did some, like, if you want to understand where the tech stuff comes from, the first setup we ever had for the first marathon on this channel, we had two computers like emulating GameCube games.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I didn't have any capture cards. So I was using one, I was capturing one via VLC and sending it to another set, like
Just over the
another thing
network.
of VLC,
Yeah.
and then capturing the VLC screen, like the VLC window. Like, and it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's
me sitting here now cannot fucking believe that worked.
right.
I can't, on two laptops. Like, I would tell you right now that would never work.
Well, it's back to what you said before, right? It's like, here's the problem. Figure out how to do it with whatever tools exist right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And back then, that's what we had.
Mm-hmm.
And so we made it work. Dude, it was terrible. Oh my God.
Are you going to do another marathon the instant that the corona ends?
I'll start planning it as soon as they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a hell of a fucking marathon.
I feel like that's what like the world needs right now is for that to end, you know, the pandemic to be over, right? And we get just a big ass marathon.
It's going to be a hell of a marathon.
I can't wait, man.
It's going to be great. Well, I'm pretty sure Death wants to come.
Oh my god!
I'm pretty sure he's gonna get on a fucking plane. I'm almost sure.
That is quite a plane ride.
Oh hell yeah! I think he wants to do it. I think once everybody can get together again, man. Yeah, that's the first thing I'm gonna do. I'll plan it right away.
That's fantastic. That's so cool.
Yeah, I think, and I think this time it might be a week. I'm not 100%.
Whoa!
See, because my mom was like, "So when are we doing the marathon?" And I was like, okay, I think this is the one where I could get away with a week. Like, usually it's 5 days.
Yeah.
But I was like, this feels like a weeker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really feel like this time, like, I could be like, hey, how about a week? And she'll be like, you know what? I'm desperate for love and attention. Like, let's bring some people in.
That's fantastic.
I might be able to spin that. It's possible.
So cool, dude.
Yeah. I have all sorts of new shit too. Actually, I'll show you something.
Okay.
My dad is hooking up a bunch of cameras and shit for actually a church, and this is a capture card that streams to Ethernet.
Uh-huh.
And it then the source is available to any PC on the network.
Huh.
So like I can do stuff like I can have like a camera over like a chessboard or something, like in a different room. As long as it's on the same network, I can capture it and send it to the OBS, like to the OBS on my main PC. Like I can do stuff in like different rooms and shit now.
Yeah, I might need to talk to you about that particular item after this interview is done.
This thing is dope. Like,
how much are those bad boys?
It was like really reasonably affordable, like 215 Canadian or something, or 240 Canadian or something.
Okay,
like that.
Yeah, that's.
It's like as much. It has like regular pass through too. It's as much as a regular capture card.
Huh. Wow, that's
insane.
That's a really nice little. Okay, we'll talk about that. I got ideas already. That's neat.
Yeah,
oh, man.
I tested it. It runs pretty well. Like I've tested for about 3 hours. It runs pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta tweak like the buffering and stuff, but it's pretty good.
Nice. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I definitely should let you go. We're over time now. I've asked my meme questions and even some personal stuff. So thank you so much. Are you gonna stream? It's late for you.
Yeah, I gotta build Jeremy's keyboard, but it shouldn't take me long. It's already we're already got the stabs on it.
Oh, look at you. You're gonna stream the build like right now?
Yeah, I think right after this.
Well, if you wanna go live, I can raid everybody over. It
might be a little bit longer because I
got it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I guess then I will go looking for targets here. But thank you so much, UpATree. Really appreciate you taking a chunk out of your evening. I know we spent a while here. But yeah, thanks for fielding my questions, man. It was awesome.
I got you.